Well, let's begin what's trending. The General Overseer of the Citadel Global Community Church, Pastor Tunde Bakare, set social media abuzz after stating that late singer Mohbad, who died under controversial circumstances, reaped the reward of his unpleasant lifestyle while he was alive. The pastor made the comment at the summit titled Harvest on Sunday in the United Kingdom. Pastor Bakare also stated that the late singer associated with evil people while he was alive, and went further to ask his congregation if Mohbad was a good name. Let's take a listen before we come back for a discussion.
Mohbad. How many of you know Mohbad? Huh? The Nigerian artist who died at 27? Mohbad. Mohbad, when he was drinking and smoking and associating with evil men, he does not know that the harvest will come so soon and it will be cut down in the prime of youth. I'm not blaming him. I'm just telling you, is Mohbad a good name? Mohbad.
The harvest, he didn't know the harvest will come so soon. I mean, personally, I felt that was quite insensitive. There's so many other examples that could be used to deliver his message, Ayo. But of course, you know that this has caused a lot of reactions. Let me take one tweet. This person wrote, in responding to Pastor Bakare, Mohbad is just a nickname. He chose to imply that he's an extremely great musician. This is what it means. For example, when it comes to data analysis, I bad gone. That statement in Pidgin means I am an awesome analyst. This pastor is misunderstanding the name. I mean, I'm glad for that clarification. I mean, I hope that Tunde Bakare will know what that means as well. But I mean, it means other things, Ayo. Yeah. But also, you know that Tonto Dike, who has been a great advocate for this Justice for Mohbad movement, also posted a tweet online. And, you know, it's a lengthy tweet. She wrote, you know, dear Pastor Tunde Bakare, when your colleagues are caught in unholy sexual activities, we never hear your voice. Only when it comes to the death of a boy who is old enough to be your last born, you say he reaped the reward of his actions. What actions? Please keep the same energy with your colleagues, she said, and, you know, preach your gospel and leave Mohbad's name out of your ministration. Dr. Abati, over to you.
Oh, okay. I think context is important here.
As always.
Now, why do I say context? Pastor Tunde Bakare is a pastor, is a priest. What do, pastors do? They preach about salvation. They preach about morality. They preach about the saving of souls, right?
Yes.
And in this particular case, he's complaining basically about two things: drinking, smoking, which seems to be the mainstream culture, you know, particularly with hip-hop artists, with the creative space in Nigeria. So you don't expect him to praise, you know, that kind of lifestyle that we see, which, as I've argued, also on the back page of This Day Today, you know, appears to be a major problem in the creative sector in Nigeria. A lot of people drinking, smoking, joining gangs, occultism, and all of that. You know, and we even had a guest here, Kennison Brown, who, as an industry person, also drew attention to that. So a pastor moralizing about lifestyle, I think, is consistent with his calling. The second issue, in terms of context also, you as or someone you quoted is saying, Mohbad means that, oh, I'm really very good.
I'm an extremely great analyst. That's what it means.
But, you know, there's also a generational gap here.
Okay.
I mean, Pastor Bakare should be, you know, in his late 60s. If a young man goes around him and he say, Mohbad, he will say, you are going about proclaiming that you are bad. He could just take it literally. You don't expect him to fit into your own, you know, zone of signification. So that's where he's coming from. However, where you may express concern is that old Sophoclean saying that you don't speak ill of the dead.
Of the dead, right.
Sophocles Aias, you know, Greek drama, that you don't speak ill of the dead. When a man is dead, you don't kick him. So maybe that's where people will be justified in saying, why should we say that? Particularly in the context of the fact that this is a man who has just died. However, to stretch it further, there are issues in the creative industry about morality, about lifestyle, about the kind of choices that artists make. I think the major message that needs to be pushed out there is that, living a certain kind of lifestyle does not necessarily make you a better artist. But there seems to be an emergent culture whereby people think, oh, you can only be creative if you smoke, if you drink, if you join gangs. You don't need to join gangs, okay? And there are examples within that same industry of persons living a straight life, who do not join gangs, who do not smoke, who do not drink. So this, I think, are the basic issues. I don't think that, Pastor Bakare necessarily meant any harm.
Right.
But you have to understand the context,
right.
Generational, and also his calling as a pastor.
I like that word, context. I mean, I also like the fact that you picked on the fact of don't speak ill of the dead, because that's the first thing I thought about, and I felt it was quite insensitive because, Mohbad has a mother, has a family. How would they feel if they hear that their son deserved to die in that context? That was what my issue was. But Rufai, I'll come to you because also there was another story that was trending that, the hospital that they said Mohbad was put to debunked claims that Mohbad was brought in alive there. They said that is, what is it called, Perez Medicare Hospital. They said that the late singer arrived dead on arrival. So that was another thing I wanted to raise. But, over to you on
so context, as it is
Tunde
with
Bakare.
One case we also talked about yesterday was regards the vice president. It's a lack of sensitivity, and as I use the particular word tact, you can go and check the meaning. It means when somebody lacks sensitivity. I think it's a lack of sensitivity. Dr. Bati, you wrote an article today at the back page. I always read your articles, lovely ones, where you talked about the fact that we're all Mohbad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what happened to Mohbad could have happened to anybody in our society. And all of these things about gang and drugs and everything is still the realm of speculation. The police have not even brought out the investigative report. So Pastor Tunde Bakare has no factual evidence to be able to say that it is based on this lifestyle that the man died. Let's wait for the police to conduct. They've conducted an autopsy. Let's even see the result and see the cause of death, and they come out with the investigation. So factually, we don't have the facts. Going back to that article that Dr. Abati wrote, we are all Mohbads in society. Because what happened to Mohbad happens to all of us. Is it the family fighting over property and excluding the girl? Is it his wife? Is it the fact that everybody wants to jump on the Mohbad bandwagon to seek relevance at the expense of Liam, his son? And I just hope all the streaming money Mohbad's name and music is making out, they use it for Liam. I've been willing to say that. And I just hope that attention is paid to the future of the child. Is it our society, that doesn't even give us structure to be able to scale? Nobody wants to set out bad, but our society fails us. So this conundrum about Mohbad is a failure of the society. Going back to the point as regards why you have gangster gang violence, all of this were a reaction to the repression of the African Americans over the years. That's how rap music came about. Hip-hop music came about because they were being suppressed, and that's why when you see some of them were repression, look at people like Tupac, for instance. That's how they were reacting to the society. So what has really caused a lot of problem as regards Mohbad's death is the society. And that's why it makes bold to say that it is the Nigerian society, the total framework that killed Mohbad. The question is, can we save other Mohbads out there from being killed by society as a whole every single day?
Like that point. Well, more on pastor stories. I'll take my next story so you can discuss on both your constituents. You're a pastor, I always do that. We'll take another story. The Labour Party has described as mischievous predictions that its presidential candidate of the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, will soon be arrested. Over the weekend, reports of prophecies foretelling Peter Obi's arrest by authorities ahead of the Supreme Court hearing began circulating online. One of the prophecies was by Prophet David Elijah, the Lagos-based pastor who claimed that he saw Peter Obi under house arrest. Well, in a video on his YouTube page, the cleric called on the obedience to pray for their candidate not to be detained. Another prophecy trending was by the spiritual leader of the Christ House of Prayer Deliverance Ministry, Pastor Elijah Bamidele. He said he saw in his revelation that Peter Obi was arrested, handcuffed, and detained in DSS custody. He called it a gang-up and asked Peter Obi to be careful so that his case will not be worse than that of Nnamdi Kanu. Ayo, over to you. You know, of course, Labour Party has responded.
Yeah.
They call it, outrageous, and that, people shouldn't pay no mind, and that Peter Obi is not a violent person, and that why should, they arrest him. Over to you.
Well, this is not the first, and I don't think it will be the last, especially when we have contentious issues, and especially when it comes to electioneering and, who would emerge. Right from time we've had prophets come out. Before this last election, there was a famous trending video, and I'm sure we talked about it here, where one pastor, who is now in police custody, by the way, I don't know if he's been released because he was accused of rape, had said that President Tinubu would be arrested on Inauguration Day, and whilst he was being, he would be handcuffed. I don't know if you remember that story. So we have heard stories like this, and unfortunately, what these kind of things, what it does is that it brings embarrassment to the cloth, which is meant to be sacred, which is meant to be honored and respected. And so when we have people whom you can't even trace their calling, you don't know who ordained them, you don't know what their history is, come out with. I'm not saying that they didn't see, but I'm saying that we've had so many, there's a proliferation of prophecies that it then makes it almost unbelievable to listen to. They are genuine prophets. And so unfortunately what these men do is that they taint the office of the prophet. It's not everything that you see or you hear that you come out to say also, even as men or women of the cloth. I think that's important to also state. But in terms of political matters, we don't, Mr. Peter Obi, I'm glad that the Labour Party has come out to say that he's not a violent man.
Yes.
They are just going to seek redress in the higher court, and nothing should warrant his arrest. He's a law-abiding citizen. He has kept calm. In fact, all through the process, he must be commended for not just his conduct, but also what he has called on his followers to do, to maintain peace and order and to follow the rule of law. I think we should focus more on that than on these many prophecies that come up about, you are going to die tomorrow, you are going to be arrested today. We've seen it in the past. We've seen how it played out, and we just look at it. The Bible says, by their fruits, you will know them.
Well said, Ayo. We'll take another story. The president of the Academic Staff Union of University, Professor Emmanuel Osodege, has raised the alarm over the looming 40 to 50% of students who he predicts may drop out of school within the next 2 years if the federal government fails to stop the continuous fee hike in universities. The professor made the comment during a live television interview, emphasizing that students will be unable to make the payments. Last week, students of the University of Lagos trooped out in their numbers in protest of the tuition fee hike. Let's take a listen to one of the students.
When did they want us to see 200 plus for school fees? 25,000 naira to 200 plus for school fees. When they want to see that? Even if I'm doing work myself, I don't understand why they cannot listen to us. We don't have such amounts. Most of us, our parents are not catering for us. We struggle life for ourselves. Did they want the boy to drop out? I cannot do this. I don't want to drop out. I have everything I need to school. I don't want to drop out. They should reduce this fee.
I thought it was important to highlight this video of this young girl so that the federal government will hear the cry. Yesterday, I was trying to take the story of Shuaibu, who wrote 10 big lies of the Tinubu administration. I'll take the 10th lie, which I was trying to read yesterday. Shuaibu wrote, biggest scam and the deceit of the Tinubu administration was the Student Loan Act, which he signed on June 12th. The new law provides loans for student tuition only. But Adele Alake, who was then the special advisor on media, said in a statement that tuition in all government schools remains free, and that the only fee that were increased were accommodation, laboratory, library, and other costs. So if tuition is free and the Student Loan Act covers only tuition fee, that means the Student Loan Act is pointless and no money will be released. Dr. Bati, over to you on these comments on the fact that
this
is
very
controversial. Correct.
And the people who push the argument about government's approach to education, quote section 18 of the 1999 Constitution, under chapter 2. Under that section, government says it will provide adequate and equal educational opportunities for all Nigerians. It talks about free basic universal primary education, free primary education, and even talks about free university education. So the people who are pushing this argument that you can't just increase educational fees, they make reference to this section 18. Now, some people argue that chapter 2 is not justiciable, but under fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, the Nigerian government is bound by the Constitution to provide adequately for education and ensure free education. That's number 1 point. Number 2 point is that, look, budgetary allocation to education is one of the poorest in this country. 3.8% was what was given to education in the last budget, as has been quoted. When you look at defense, you look at the amount of money that is spent on maintenance of special assistants and special advisors and jamboree, junketing all over the world. You know, even convoys of ordinary ministers, ordinary people like ministers, who are just errand people, you know, then the average Nigerian is likely to say, you people cannot be enjoying surplus and then you can't prioritize appropriately. The third argument is that even with that small budgetary allocation, imagine a big university like University of Lagos, like UNN, like Ibadan, being given on a monthly basis 10 million naira or 11 million naira. To serve what purpose? Where would they start from? Even electricity bill to run the university is more than 10 million naira. So you now find, again, we're back to the issue of leadership, whereby the Nigerian government is not getting its priority right. And yet we keep making the argument that the biggest investment you can make is in building a skillful population of people who can compete globally. Every country that wants to compete starts with educating their people. In our own case here, we are not prioritizing education. You know, we're interested in education as government just to give contracts.
Yes.
So those who are arguing that this will lead to a lot of people dropping out of school, they have a point.
Absolutely.
Because if you look at the inflation rate, it's so high. Many families cannot even pay, even at 20,000 naira. Do you know that some students cannot even pay school fees?
It's horrible.
And then you hike it up. But the university management, that's what we call them. University management is also saying, we don't have the resources. So do you want the entire university to just shut down?
Yeah.
So this is the conundrum. And I hope that President Tinubu will take a second look at it. Even loans are not free.
Right.
So you give them loans, it's like
point.
peonage.
Right.
You know, so these are the issues.
Yeah,
to look at it from the angle of affected parents, stakeholders, and even the university teachers themselves.
Absolutely.
Who have to teach in classrooms that have no air conditioning, where there are no fans.
Absolutely unacceptable.
Even though chalk or what is it that they used to teach?
Chalk
or marker.
It's chalk or marker. Now they use marker. It's a serious situation. I've been getting a lot of reactions. You sent me this video of this young girl, which I thought was important to highlight. But before we take our last story, I would like to play up a video of a young man who tried to commit suicide in Falomo yesterday. Take a look. I haven't received a statement from the police yet, but that is a crime as well. But thank God that he was rescued. That is a crime.
That's a crime, please. Whatever it is, you have no right to take your life. Well, thank God that life was saved. But most importantly, I beg everyone, things are so tough. The economy is at an all-time low. Reach out to somebody out there. Depression is on the high. Reach out. Go out there. Let your words be words of healing to somebody. Help somebody. Lift somebody. please, I beg you, let's be one another's keeper at this point in time. We don't have all the answers, but we can do it together.
Ayo.
I think this is where our humanity should shine through the most. And kudos to the men and women who stood around to save the life of that particular man. But I think, OJ, it speaks a lot when back-to-back the videos you have played shows the depressing state of things in the nation, where young students are crying on national TV because they want to go to school.
I mean,
and another video, another person is so depressed and so frustrated that they'd rather end their lives. It speaks a lot.
Yes.
Without us even saying, it speaks a lot of the state of things in this nation.
Absolutely.
And so I hope that the leaders are watching.
Absolutely. Well said, Ayo.